Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to use the imperative mode in your config map. So firstly, we need to create config map and then insert that config map as part of your YAML file. So there are two steps over here. Yeah. So firstly, we can see in this diagram that Kubernetes will access the config map, which is created by this command. So you can see the kubectl create config map. These are the three lines, which is kind of like a value. And then, this is a variable, which is given by Kubernetes. And then this is your value, as in like, what is the name of your config map? So that's your my config, that's your value. And then from where? So what are the values? So it's a literal value over here. I'm going to give each value with its own name and its value, right? So you can see that this is the name of the value and this is the value itself. Same one over here. So I'm going to repeat this until I satisfy all my four parameters. These are the four parameters which we added earlier. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So all those four parameters and their values, I'm going to include it as part of a config map. And then I'm going to execute this YAML file in which I load the config map related details here under your container. So it says env from, so it says which environment it needs to load from, config map reference, and then you can see the name of the config, which is my config. So these are the three details. I'm going to load it as part of your YAML file. And then the moment I load it, this information of your config map is going to go and set as part of your env. So you can call it as env as well. So as part of your env, it's going to load it over here in your container, which is again under a pod. But this more or less goes to your container directly. So that's the reason, because it is set in your container level. Anyways, thank you so much. So let's just see the hands-on as well. I want to create another video for hands-on. So let's just go with this one only, because it's not that much of a time-taking task. So as this doesn't require a file creation, so I'm gonna go and stick with the config map creation. So the config map command, goes like this. Control config, create, what you want to do with create config map. And then you kind of give the configuration name, which is my config map name. And then I'm going to copy it. I don't want to waste time by typing it. So here is like from literal values I'm going to give for all these four values with the name of the value and the value itself. And then I'm going to give enter. I can see that my config is created. Now I can see that one coming up, and it has also the number of data it has. So a config map doesn't have to just have a data. It could have a file. It could have a configuration. It could have a script. There's a lot of things a config map can have. So we will discuss slowly one by one. So when you do this config map get of this config map cm/myconfig, you can actually see the details like what you see over here. Now, if you want to get a describe on this my CFG, config, you can actually see the values of the whatever is written as part of this config map. This is the reason why we need something called secrets, because you can actually see the password over here. So you can see the password, which is kind of displayed over here. So this is your database name. This is your username's demo user's password. This is your root password. And that's your username. So likewise, you can see all those details over here exposed. So that's the major reason why we want to create something else called a secret. Now you can actually get this output as well as a YAML file format as well. So you just give -o as an output and then YAML. So here you can see the API version, the data, the kind, The metadata is about like created timestamp, name, namespace, and resource values and UID. So these are something which gets created as part of your YAML file by default. So those are things which you can see over here. You can also edit this config by going to kube control, edit, and then you can say cm my iPhone config. You can actually change the values over here. So I can make this root password to 2 and then save and quit this file. So now you can see that when you kind of get your describe over here, you can see the demo DB password has changed to 2 right now. So this is something which you can do as part of this when you are already when you're already in this config. Okay, so let's edit it back to 1 again. So save and quit this file. I should say that changed. All right. Now you can dynamically change the values on your my config, but how is it going to get reflected on the service which you are already running? That's a question, right? So we will figure that out in the next video. So the short answer is no, it won't, unless it is a volume. So we will check that out as part of our video as well. As part of this video also you can see it. Yeah, because anyways, we are going to do that. So before we go ahead, delete my deployment, which is already deployed over here. So the deployment is removed now. So let's go ahead and create our YAML file. So we're going to create our YAML file called configmap pod2.yaml. In this one, we are going to copy paste from our GitHub the coding. And what is in the coding is nothing special except for the bottom 3 lines. So you have in the same level as your, as your configurations of your name. And inside the name, we have the images, ports, and env from. And in env from, we have given config map reference over here. And under the config map reference, we have given the name of the config map, which goes and says this config map name. So rather than loading the variables from line by line from here, it's going to load it from the my config map location. So save and quit this file, and then have the kube control apply -f going for this deployment. And you should see the status running without any error. Perfect. So let's just go open this exec. Oh, the one thing I do to, rather than pressing enter when I do a control alt right, exec, I press this and then I press the right arrow. So when I press the right arrow, it start going on the right side and start completing the full sentence, and you can actually verify before you hit the enter, because I once did something stupid like this with control R. So that's why I'm telling you that, that experience. So env again, and you can see the demo user, the password, and everything else is written as it should. You should be able to log into your machine and everything, so it shouldn't have any impact on it. Let's just go ahead and edit this my config item. So here I'm just changing it to root password to 2. And then now if I do the describe, it should come in as 2. But would it change inside the variable? So you can see that root password is changed to 2. But would it change inside your pod? So if you just go over here into the bash and then do env, right? I can see the password is root password is db1. Now you may ask me, what if I delete my pod, because it's obviously part of the deployment, so it's going to recreate it. So it's just going to recreate another pod over here, and then I just go and enter into the pod, and I want to see whether this value has changed right now. So as for your surprise, you can see that the value has changed right now. So which means that when you recreate this this particular pod, you're gonna get the password changed because you have changed the my configuration. So what that means is like it's not going to dynamically change on the existing containers, but if you restart the container, it's gonna have this new change implemented as part of your configuration change. But if you want to have this dynamically changed, you may need to wait for a little more time. So I'll come to that. Thank you again for watching this video with patience. I hope it was useful for you. So just do make sure that you delete all the items which you've just created. And I will see you on the next video.